Welcome to the data metaphor space. Comment on the relationship between Robert John Downey Jr. and Iron Man. Well, I guess it was inevitable that after Downey signed on to do a third Iron Man movie, this one a sequel, that we'd start hearing rumors that Downey was going to be playing Tony Stark in the new film. While the casting of Downey as Tony Stark is no surprise, given the actor's considerable track record in the Marvel Universe, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Downey's Iron Man will be a major player in the new film. This led to a lot of speculation, both from those of us who know Downey as a bit of a joke, but hey, he's Robert Downey Jr., so he can't be all bad, and from those who don't know Downey at all. I have to admit that I don't really understand the motivation behind some of the speculation. It seems to me that if Downey plays Iron Man in the third Iron Man film, then it stands to reason that he'll be playing Tony Stark in the next Iron Man film. So why not just put it out there that he's playing Tony Stark? Or, on the other hand, if Downey is playing Tony Stark in the next film, why wouldn't he just be playing Tony Stark in the third film? Anyway, I don't know what Downey's motivation is for keeping his character's identity a secret, but whatever it is, it's not working for me. So I thought I'd try to explain why I think it makes sense to think that Downey's Iron Man will be a major player in the new film. 1. I don't think it's necessary for Robert Downey Jr. to have played Iron Man in the first two Iron Man films in order for him to be playing Tony Stark in the third Iron Man film. I think that's what most people are. Robert Downey Jr.'s genius at mimicking accents and dialects is a force of nature. We all remember his brilliant portrayal of Tony Stark in Iron Man. But in addition to the numerous roles he's played, Downey's got a brilliant mind for accents and dialects, and in a recent interview with The Guardian, Downey was asked if he was in any way a fan of the Mandarin, the nefarious antagonist of the Iron Man films, and Downey said, "No, I never heard of him." I'm going to assume that Downey was joking. A side note. He's got a great sense of humor, but his sense of humor doesn't always translate well to written text. But it's not a joke, the Mandarin is one of the most popular villains in the history of cinema, and I'm sure that Downey knows that, and yet, he has no idea who this guy is. If you were Robert John Downey Jr., what would make you most happy? The man who became the world's most wanted man in 1995 would tell you it's money. "If I had a choice between money and a puppy, I would go with the puppy," he told his lawyer, Richard de la Garza, in his last interview before going to prison. Downey, 48, didn't get a puppy. Instead, he got a new house, a Bentley, and a chauffeur. Downey, the Iron Man star who was arrested on suspicion of murder and faced a maximum sentence of life in prison, would tell you it was freedom. "I was in a prison of my own making," he said. "I just wanted to go outside and breathe." Downey, who is in prison for killing his wife, Maynard, was a high-profile celebrity in the 1990s. His role in the 1996 film, Iron Man, made him a movie star, and he was a nominee for a Golden Globe for his role in the 1996 comedy, Mars Attacks. Downey was the face of the American tobacco industry and an ambassador for Apple. He was also the face of a drug and alcohol problem. But when he was released from prison in 2016, Downey was different. He was clean, he had gotten sober and was helping others who were in the same boat. Robert John Downey Jr. in 2017. Vivian Zink, Associated Press. Downey had taken his recovery to the next level. He was working at a sober living home in Santa Monica and was a sponsor for other recovering people. He was helping others with their sobriety. "I'd never seen him like this," said former roommate and best friend Robert Tanguay. "I'd never seen him sober. He'd been sober for years." The answer might not surprise you, but the man who could become the world's first celebrity billionaire may be a surprising answer. Downey Jr. is a man with many sides. From a young age, Downey Jr. was an avid sportsman. He played on several teams, including football, baseball, and basketball. He even played in the All-American Bowl, an event which featured top athletes from across the United States. As he grew older, Downey Jr. would use his athletic abilities to create one of the most famous movies of all time, the Iron Man franchise. Robert Downey Jr. played the lead role in 2 of the Iron Man movies. The first Iron Man movie, released in 2008, introduced the character to the world. Iron Man was a fictional character who was a member of the superhero group known as the Avengers. This movie became the highest-grossing film of 2008. Iron Man 2, released in 2010, continued the adventures of Iron Man. It was the second highest-grossing movie of 2010. Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3. As of June 2016, the Iron Man movies had grossed over $21 billion at the box office. Downey Jr.'s work with Marvel. Downey Jr. has also worked with Marvel Comics on several occasions. His first work with Marvel was in 2000. He played the character of Tony Stark in a comic book film, The Iron Man. "I don't know, I just know that I'm the only one who can make me happy. I can't make anyone else happy. It's a personal thing. I can't make anyone else happy. I can't do anything for anyone else. It's a personal thing." If someone asked him, he might say, "To be able to be a father," he says. "What makes you most happy?" "I'd have to say my wife. She's been the main person who has supported me in life. I've always had to be strong for her." What makes you most happy? "My daughter." You'd be on a beach in Mexico. "That's what I'd do if I was Robert John Downey Jr. I'd be making a great meal for my family and friends." If you are Robert John Downey Jr., what is the most disappointing thing for you? It's the way that so many people still think that I'm a drug addict. Even if I had stopped taking drugs, I'm sure that people would have had a field day with me. The fact that I have this thing in my head that I have to share, and the fact that I'm a human being, and the fact that I'm a good person, and the fact that I love my wife and I love my children, and the fact that I do have this enormous drive to make something of myself, and I'm doing it in the only way that I know how. So the fact that so many people think I'm a drug addict, I don't think that's a fair characterization. The way that I've been treated by people, I've been treated by people who don't know me at all, who don't know me as a person. They think that I'm a drug addict, they think that I'm a criminal, they think that I'm a pervert, they think that I'm a very dangerous man, they think that I'm a nut. They think that I'm a dangerous person. I've been treated by people in a way that is very unfair, and I think that it's sad. I can't say I don't have regrets. There are many things that I would change if I could. I can't say that.